Welcome back to Pt22. Continue on with our 6.5 Grendel series, now video 22. We're going to go back and visit one powder and combination that has shot pretty well for us, and I think we can shoot better. And that's Shooter's World Match Rifle. Now, we had a load at 30.5 grains with this 95 grain VMAX, and we had another one at 31, and both standard deviations were 7 or below, I believe. And so that's pretty good. And the groups were trying to group, and I think I pushed or pulled one out. And so this is the one I told you I'm going to work on me. And so we're going to go back and reshoot these loads. But we're going to check either side because, you know, that's a half grain difference between those, and they were still shooting about the same as far as good standard deviations and extreme spreads. So we're going to go down to 30.4 and go 30.6, 30.8, 31, and 31.2 with Shooter's World Match Rifle. So we'll cover where we were more or less, and but we'll know more about that range and that node that may be in that area. And so that'll be good. The one change though we're going to do is from, we're not going to use CCI 41s this time, we're going to use Federal Premium Match Rifles, and just see if we can impact that standard deviation again, see maybe if it gets even lower or if it maybe gets bigger. We'll see. That's Shooter's World Match Rifle. We use the same primer, same bullet, and of course our Hornady, these are 2 times fired Hornady cases that have been annealed and, you know, resized, Ebird, chamfered, all that. But we're going to shoot with CFE 223. Now this is one of the fastest, as far as velocity goes, one of the fastest powders you can shoot in this 6.5 Grendel round. And in fact, 223 pretty much as well. It's one of the faster for getting higher velocity, I should say, powders. So we're going to shoot it, and we're going to start at it near their max, but not at the max, at Hornady list anyway, and that's 30.3. And we're going to go down in 0.3 increments again, all the way down to 32.1. Now both of these we're going to shoot at 2.24 overall lengths, and of course, you know, try to keep everything as even as can be, and we'll see where we go. But should be a good combination. Both powders, this shoots definitely well. This is already a good shooting powder in many Grendel applications. We'll see how well it does with this 95 grain VMAX now. So let's move on and prime some cases. All right, we're going to use our new RCBS hand priming system, and this is, you know, I'm really happy with it. You know, like I said, I've been using the Lee, but mostly I use my Dillon for priming. But for stuff like this, it's much easier for a hand primer, and you get a little different feel. The Dillon's a good feel, but you get a little different feel when you do it by hand, of course. Now, the cool thing about the RCBS, again, it has these jaws that are spring-loaded, and so you don't have to change different case holders like you do on Lee and others. You don't have to have a custom one. You just slide it in there, and it kind of self-centers, and then away you go. So it makes it nice and easy. You get a good positive feel on the seating of the primer, the force it takes, and then the depth of it. And it just does a really good job. So far, really happy. I expect it to last longer because all the major parts here are metal instead of, or the highest pressure was plastic like on the others. So anyway, we'll continue on, and then we'll move on to charging our cases. We're continuing now with our charging of our cases. So we're in Shooter's World Match Rifle. We're at our 30.8 load, and it meters really, really well, being a spherical powder, and their technology of that, even that, makes it meter really well. So I have the RCBS Charge Master Lite going directly to the charge, and it's usually there. This one says it's under by 1/10, but most of these have been pretty much dead on, where I don't have to do much adjustment at all. So here it was light, 30.72, so we just trickle up. It looks like I screwed this up, so let's fix this. And then we're back on course. So now we're at 30.8. We double check over here on our new Calyx scale, 30.8, and so we're good to go. Just a bit of a check, triple, double checks that I tend to do when we're looking for these really small standard deviations and extreme spreads. Either scale is pretty good, but I like to keep track of if they drift. And one will tell you if the other is drifting, and you'll get a good idea. Sometimes you can tell with the very scale it's drifting by the readings, but nonetheless, that's the routine. So we got a 30.8 Charge Master Lite after it stabilizes. We check it here, and sure enough, 30.8, 0. We come over here, double check, and this says 30.8. So we're good. We'll just continue working through our charges here, and then we'll move on and we'll do our CFE 223 and then we'll see our bullets. Right now we're just continuing on through our CFE 223 loads. They are starting at 32.1, and so we're coming up a little bit short, and we'll trickle up to that value. This powder meters well, maybe not quite as good as the Shooter's World match in our RCBS Chargemaster Lite, but it's not bad. It gets us close, and a very minor amount of trickling there, and then we're right on the money. So let's continue on through these. We have just a few more to go, and let's see what it says. 32.1, and we'll double check here again, and it says 32.06, so it's pretty close, but we're going to trickle it right on up. Try to be dead on our number, within plus minus 0.2. There we go, 32.12. We'll just double check over here, but it only reads to 1/10, and that's fine. It's for a thing for major scale or major drift error is what I'm using this scale for right now, to sort of double check that. So anyway, we'll work through this, and then we'll seat our bullets. All right, now we're moving on to seating of our bullets. Now this is the lowest charge of the Shooter's World match rifle powder, and so we'll seat this. I backed the die out because we want 2.24 inches is our target for overall length, and we're at 2.3, so we need to come down 60 thousandths. So 10, 20, 30, 40, we'll see how that goes. .260, so 26 thousandths of an inch we need to come down, so we can check our scale here with the micrometer feature on this Hornady die. We'll come down 26, and we'll see where we hit. .240.5, so that's good. So let's check some more and see how we repeat, because obviously the overall length on the bullets change, especially these chipped bullets. And then when we're done, we'll go back and write down cartridge base to ogive so we can confirm it. 2.241.5, so that's still good. We'll check another. .241.5. That's pretty good. I think I'll just go ahead and take it down 1/1000th of an inch there, and we'll seat these. We'll just check one more and seat them. And then we'll go check the high end of our powder. We'll finish off this row here. There's 5 at this charge weight, and just double check them. .241.5. So that's good, because that one came in long after I went down 1/1000th of an inch. Let's see what this one is. 2.240.5. So that's good. That's a good average. We're right on where we need to be. So let's go up to our top charge here in Shooter's World match, and we'll see if we're compressing. I don't believe it will be. We'll check. We'll seat a few up here and see if we're going to have to adjust downward. 2.241.5. We'll check one more, but that tells me right there that we're not going to be compressing on Shooter's World match at the top. Just a very full case. .242, so we're good at the top end as well. So we'll continue to seat those. We'll do the same procedure. We get the CFE 223. We'll seat the low charge, make sure our average is right. Check the high end. If it compresses, then we'll adjust it down as we move up to maintain the same overall length. So we'll finish these up, and we'll see you at the range. All right, we're in from the range and taking a look at our brass. These first 5 rows are Shooter's World match, and they go from 30.4 grains up to 31.2 grains. And there really is nothing much to see here. All the brass looks good, no swipes, no smears. The primers are nice and rounded, and no cratering here of the primer where the firing pin strikes it either. So that all looks good. Now we move on up to CFE 223. And it's much the same story. Really, there's no issues. Our very top range, this goes from 32.1 up to 33.3. Our very top range, so maybe some very slight ejector smears right here, and right there is a very small one. This one has just a little bit, if you can see that in the camera. But it's so slight, I'm not sure it's worth pointing out, just because you can take a look at the brass itself now. Yeah, it's a little dirty from firing, but not bad. And there are no other signs. We're not seeing case head separation signs or anything like that, which we've seen on other pieces of this bulk brass. So as far as pressure goes, everything looks good. So let me reposition the camera. We'll take a look at the targets. All right, here's our targets. And the first one is a bit of a screw up on my part. And so I was rushing because I was, like I mentioned in the video, really close to dark. In fact, I ended up shooting about 15 minutes after official sunset. So it was getting dark fast. The video kind of makes it look a little lighter than it was, but it was really, really dark. So I'm rushing really good, and what do? I take the first shot on the wrong target. So got to move all those down, and so we'll move this one down. So that target, that bullet actually belongs onto this target. And through the magic of Photoshop and the stats you'll see in the next few frames after this, well then that was moved down. And so you can see those stats. But if you look at that group, it's okay. It's okay, not too bad. And then we move here to the Shooter's World, and we see one drop then really low at 30.6. The first one was 30.4, so now we're 30.6 of Shooter's World match rifle. Then we go 30.8, and again have one drop low. And then we go to 31, groups better. 32, groups quite a bit better. And so you can see things tightening up towards the top end. I can't figure out, I didn't think I could figure out what these were until I noticed something else. And so in the different ways I measure powder, I start with the RCBS Chargemaster Light, and its aluminum pan, powder never sticks. So then I move to the Dante Maxxis scale, and I use another pan that I have off one of my OHA scales, and I put it on there, and it's a gold colored pan, and it's never stuck powder before. And so I'm moving along, loading, and after coming back and loading after these, I found there was actually powder sticking on it, and it was kind of an odd angle where you couldn't see it. And so I would occasionally get some velocity spreads that were really odd. And so what I was getting was, if the powder sticks on one charge, that charge would be light, and then the powder sticks on the next one, the charge was heavy because the scale re-zeros. And so I can watch for that now. I'll do that in the future loads, maybe just get another pan. I tried cleaning that pan with alcohol. I wiped it down with old dryer sheets to get rid of the static, which is one trick to do, and it didn't seem to help. So, and it's only with CFE 223. And it's an odd thing that one pan will stick with CFE 223. So got to watch that, and we'll get that. And I think I'll be able to get rid of these from what I observed during shooting. So one other thing before we switch to the other target with the CFE 223 powder is this is my White Oak Armament SPR 5.56 barrel, 18-inch barrel on the DPMS upper and lower. And I just what I've been doing is when I shoot this, I'll practice with it while this is cooling down. And so, kind of, cold bore shots here and then just rips to the center. Same thing here. I had a little more time, and it usually shoots high and left just a little bit when it's cold bore. But then it starts to tighten up. And then we get this crazy group. And I'll have the stats on there, but I remember something, this is just right at 1/2 inch. But when you take this one out, which I should have compensated for, the last time I shot a PRS match, I was conscious enough to do that. And this now is in the just slightly less than 0.3 range. And that's 4 rounds right there. So if I had remembered cold bore compensation on there, it would have piled all 5 right there. So that gun is just really, really rolling with accurate 25-20 powder and Sierra 77 grain Match Kings. So if you have that gun or that barrel, you might try that powder combination, because it's just, boy, it's just an absolute killer in that gun. It gets to the point where once you settle in, everything is you. It's just really doing good. So thought I'd share that with you. I'll be dropping in some more series on and off on these rifles. This one and the Wilson Combat PRS guns. But it's just to me, it's just amazing that an AR can do that. I mean, that's right there with the best of the bolt guns. And an AR-15 is doing that. So I thought it was pretty cool. So let's take a look at the other target. So here is our CFE 223. Now this is the first Shooters World match one I mentioned, that 30.4, and I had to move the one bullet up. So you'll see that after this. But so we start here with that really, and we start at 32.1 grains, and not bad, but we have one fall way out again. And right about here is where I started to notice the issue with the powder. I didn't quite figure it out until the last, really until after I was done with this loading, but I started noticing something just seemed wrong. So I went to 32.4 grains, excuse me, and you see it then tighten up from this. So this was more consistent load, and there's 3 piling right through here and here, and again, it's getting really dark, so I hate to make too many excuses, but it's getting better. Well, you get to 32.7, and it really opened up here. And so how much of this is the powder and how much is me, I don't know. But once you really see then what's happening here at 33.0 and 33.3, there's 4 and here are 4. And so I'll list the stats on these when you drop the one out. I count them all, but I find it interesting to see, because these I think I'm going to be able to eliminate from what I saw with the powder measuring issue that I found. And so we're going to shoot these again, and then we'll see how it does. Now the Harrell's tuner was on the rifle, and it was left at 75 and never changed. Okay, so we're just looking at the powder variations through here. So you can imagine if I start adjusting a little bit here and here with Harrell's tuner, and I've gotten rid of these, I mean, it's going to be incredible. I really look forward to that. So I'm going to shoot these pretty soon, and we'll do a short update on that with this powder and the 95 grain Hornady ELDs. So pretty cool results. I'm just really encouraged when you see some things like this, because I know these I'm going to be able to eliminate. And I'll probably weight sort the bullets this next time through too, to eliminate that as a problem. Maybe check bullet-based ogive on them and just trying to, group some bullets closer together to maybe eliminate some other possibilities here. But we'll shoot those real soon and give an update on that. I'm pretty happy though. The gun is really, with this bullet, starting to hone. I did place an order though. I said I was going to stop at 95 grains, but I decided to get some Armageddon Varmint 90 grain bullets, and so we're going to shoot those. It's supposed to be really, really accurate and really, really fast, and so I was reading several articles about how they take out coyotes and things, and just incredible. So we're going to go ahead and shoot those since we're already in this weight range and have a good idea where we can start. So anyway, we'll show the stats and all on these just right now. All right, this is a target. After you've seen the last shots, I went back and something was just bothering me. I thought we had some pretty good results with CFE 223 at 33 grains, but something was just bothering me the way the targets were shooting, because I know I was shooting better than what those results were showing. I mean, they weren't bad. You see them there, but this is sort of into the future, right? I was so frustrated. The next day I went out and loaded again and went back and we tested these things. So what did we find out? Well, here's what I did. I thought we'd shoot the same load and check it out again. I shoot, first one's dead low, second one's dead low, and then they start grouping in. And it's like, what in the world? So then I decided to stop and figure out what was going on. So I checked my scope. It was not loose in the rings or anything like that, right? And I checked, it's got a Burris pepper mount. Now it's the only mount I have that has the quick release, okay? All the rest of them I have tightened up normally with wrenches, and you can torque them and leave them that way. I'll show you this mechanism here right after that and show you what the issue was. But nonetheless, I messed with it. The front one was really tight. It was good. Now, I went ahead when I was done with this and tightened it just a little bit more. But the rear one, while it cammed over and felt tight, when you just barely started to uncam it, the latch, it was loose. And it was enough that I thought, well, maybe the scope is shifting and then locks in for the next ones roughly, and then we're seeing that. So that's what I tried to do. So I took that rear one and tightened a little ratchet on it and kept bringing that cam forward until I know I was under pretty good pressure on it. And sure enough, what happens? Well, I shot this one right after that. Again, low a little bit, and then 4 just piled right in there. 4 here and 1 here, and I knew this one was me. Okay, so this one I felt that I pushed it, and I did. But I went ahead and tightened the rear just one more click and put it back on there, and then shot this. So all 5 piled in there, and that was what was really encouraging. And so when you look at these ones that are above here are like 1.8 MOA, 2.1 MOA, just, you know, garbage for what this gun can do. And then right here is where this is in a range where I was doing some smaller adjustments. Okay, so I shot it after a major adjustment and made one adjustment again, and I finally made the last one and then shot this. And so these are 1.1 MOA, 1.5 MOA, but that one again was me. But then we dropped down here 0.568 MOA. And again, I'll have these here. And so that was really encouraging. It told me that I think I've stopped the scope movement, and this is more than likely a variation in ammunition or me at this point. And I think that's borne out. So I went ahead and the same day I had some other ammo loaded that I'll have in another video. And I think you'll see some good results with it, because it just made all of a sudden a lot of sense, because these ones are dropping straight low and moving around, and then grouping them afterwards was really frustrating me. But anyway, let me get the gun over here and we'll take a look and I'll show you what I mean. Alright, after lots of frustration, I finally found the culprit on the range the other day on why I kept having one shot fall out and then the rest group up. This is a burst pepper mount. Now, it's been coated and everything, so you don't see it saying burst pepper mount, but it is. And it has this ratcheting design. Now, the other, I'll flip it over here in a minute and show you, but it's a cam action. That's what actually tightens them up. But this is what you tighten. It's got a little ratchet set up here. When you tighten this up, it can appear to be tight and not be completely pulling against that rail. The front one I found could be really tight, and if the back one is not, this will give you a false reading when you grab hold of the scope and try to see, just kind of feel for any looseness, because it's holding it. But upon recoil, then if this one is not really tight in the rear as well, then it moves. And that's what's going on. So basically what you do is you'll undo this lever, I'll show you in a minute, and then you tighten this ratchet, and then you tighten this lever back. And you try to get it, it's a game because it's got a latch on the lever, so it doesn't come unlocked easily. But it's a game on trying to get it tight enough that it's still closed, but not too tight that you break something, or too loose. And so it's a little different game. So it's kind of like, you know, this one was in tight and then this one wasn't, but it settles enough to give you a false feeling, false view of it, and then upon recoil it moved, and it would move and set in a position, and the next few shots would be okay. But once this receiver cools and you go through your next shot, well, then it releases and does it again. So anyway, let's take a look at the other side of the gun. Alright, here's the other side of the gun. Now I've undone one of the cams so you can see how it works. But this other side, you tighten that ratchet till this feels fairly tight, and then you push this forward, and that cam then comes in and tightens that to the rail, and this little latch slides back and catches so it doesn't come undone. And both of these were cammed over, but when you pop this one off and that one was still tight, then you could see how loose this really was. You can't feel it at all in the system, but you sure could tell it after it had been fired a few times. Then it had come loose back here. Now it's really tight in the back and snug in the front, and I think everything is settled down, and but then the target sure showed it. But anyway, I wanted you to see this because these burst pepper mounts, it's just the way these quick release types are. Yeah, and I don't think I want one anymore. I mean, I don't take these off my guns. I really don't. I don't know why I went ahead and got the quick release. I just thought I'd try it. I have one that's not a burst pepper that's not, and I never have an issue. So, you know, kind of finicky to tight, where the other one, I just put a wrench and a torque wrench on one side, tighten it right up, and I never have to worry about it. But you know, if you're switching sights and things on your gun all the time, maybe this is still for you. But for precision work, yeah, maybe not so much. But anyway, it appears to be tight now. Hopefully it stays that way. If it doesn't, off it goes. Or maybe I can see if I can get a replacement from Burris for this mechanism and put the normal bolt-through mounting system.